a former rapper and ex-con trying to put his life back together.
He was working, he was turning his life around.
He loved his kids. I think that's what fueled him to go on.
His loving wife, a gifted musician in her own right.
They fell in love with music and then fell in love with one another.
They just couldn't stay away from each other.
But on the morning of July 19th, 2013, it all comes to a crashing halt.
The car looked like an accordion. It was a mangled mess.
It was one of the worst wrecks that I've ever seen.
As a local funeral director prepares a body for burial, he makes a shocking discovery.
The case then immediately went from a motor vehicle fatality to a murder.
Tears just started rolling out my eyes. I couldn't believe it.
July 19, 2013. Police and first responders in Harnett County, North Carolina race to the scene of a horrific car accident on Ray Road.
He had apparently been going down a two-lane road early in the morning at 90 miles an hour. He'd gone off the left side of the road and his car had flipped.
Check the call.
It was one of the worst impacts and rollover wrecks that I've ever seen.
Car's clear.
The driver, who had seemingly been ejected from the vehicle, is identified as David Lokeith Worley.
1110, we have a male that's been ejected.
David Worley had a North Carolina driver license that listed his address to be in Fayetteville.
David Worley was pronounced dead at the crash site.
The name David Worley may not be familiar to the police on the scene, but that is about to change.
Jackson.
When the accident took place, myself and other investigators were actually in the middle of investigating another homicide.
Worley, really?
The morning of the car wreck, there had been a home invasion nearby the scene of the car wreck.
That's right around the corner.
During the home invasion, one of the suspects was shot and killed. His last name happened to be the same last name as Mr. Worley. So that was really what raised red flags on he might be kin or somehow connected to our investigation.
Could David Worley, the victim of this horrific accident, have died fleeing the scene of a deadly crime? David Worley was born in Savannah, Georgia, to a military family.
They transitioned into the military bases around the United States for a while.
Eventually, the family settled in Fayetteville, North Carolina, where young David made quite an impression.
Full of energy, full of smiles, was just an all-around great kid, you know, great friend.
He was athletic, played football. He was well-rounded, just kind of in the in crowd.
As an adult, David had no problem attracting the ladies.
He was a really good-looking guy. Women were always staring at him.
While David may have been a gifted athlete, it was music that he was most interested in.
He loved music. He was very musically inclined with instruments and singing and rapping. Anything that had to do with music was pretty much the center of his attention.
David's music was real to me. In his songs, you can tell what he went through and how it was an impact on his life.
Eventually, David decided to pursue a music career full-time.
He used to say to me, I'm going to be a star one day. I'm going to be a star one day.
We were going back and forth from Atlanta, Georgia, and doing, you know, shows. And we got right there to the point where we was about to sign a contract with Def Jam South.
But the Def Jam contract ultimately fell through. Having fathered 4 children by his early 30s, David was now willing to do anything it took to support his family, even if it meant breaking the law.
He got tied up in the drug game during that time period as a way of making money.
If you're not in school, if you're not working, it is easy to find trouble. And that's what happened with David.
In 2007, David ended up serving time on drug and firearm charges. When he was released 2 years later in 2009, David was determined to turn his life around and set a better example for his kids to follow.
David was really trying to get his life back together. He was working, turning his life around.
With a new lease on life, David reunited with an old girlfriend named Toni Talley. Like David, Toni also came from a military family.
She was born in Concord, Massachusetts. She was raised in Massachusetts. She was raised in Virginia. She was raised in South Carolina. She was raised in Alabama. She was raised in Georgia. So she's kind of all over the place.
All right, let's see what you got.
With a shared love of music, Toni and David quickly reestablished their love connection.
Miss Talley was quite talented just as well as David was. They fell in love with music and then fell in love with one another.
He was talkative, he was funny. He liked the same type of music I liked, and a lot of our conversation had to do with music.
Baby, that's hot. That is so hot. Wow.
Soon, David and Toni moved in together.
I had my own place and he'd come over, and then it got to the point where he was just over, so pretty much moved in.
Yeah, you look good chopping with that knife.
You like what you see?
I like it a lot.
After living together for more than a year, the happy couple tied the knot.
Toni was a good influence on David, and because of her, he was changing his life for the better.
She was in culinary school, and from what I understand, she was really good at it. I heard the kids talk about that she was a really good cook.
Better than your mama's, isn't it?
They seemed like they was just so in love with each other.
But before long, the stresses of marriage and finances began to take their toll.
The finances were unstable, employment was unstable, and our communication wasn't what it should have been, to have a successful marriage.
The arguments between David and Toni became more frequent.
It take a lot to get him mad. And when he was one of those guys that when he got angry, he was angry.
Toni Talley is more of a stand her ground type person.
Eventually, in 2011, their arguments turned physical.
During an argument, he jumped on top of her and she stabbed him in the arm.
I would just get off of me. I didn't really know what else to do to stop him.
Regardless of the physical nature of the altercation, neither David nor Toni ever filed a police report.
He was still on probation, so she didn't want to call the police because then that meant him leaving, that meant taking him away from his kids.
But it wasn't long after that incident that Toni decided she'd had enough.
I was looking for a job in Georgia because I was planning to leave and move to Georgia.
There was a lot of speculation about a guy from Georgia.
That was the rumor mill that she had a friend in Georgia.
Either way, Toni and David's mercurial romance comes to a shocking end in the early morning hours of July 19th, 2013.
Some car wrecks you see and you say, oh, it's just a minor car wreck. Some you see and you know that there's a fatality. And the way that that car was mangled, I just knew there was no way somebody could have survived a wreck like that.
Now the question for investigators is, what caused this tragic accident? And how does it tie into the shooting death that took place just moments before the fatal crash?
We thought, what are the chances that these two have the same last name?
July 19th, 2013. Police in Harnett County, North Carolina have discovered the lifeless body of David Worley, the apparent victim of a horrific car accident.
The car looked like an accordion. It was a mangled mess.
The vehicle went off the road and hit 2 concrete culverts. And on the last time as it flipped, he was ejected when the car came to a stop.
Mr. Worley's body was located approximately 10 to 15 feet from the actual vehicle and landing site.
By the time detectives arrive on the scene, David's body is already en route to a local hospital morgue.
Hey, guys.
How you doing, officer?
What the investigators want to know now is if the accident is related to a fatal home invasion robbery that had occurred just prior to the accident.
There was another guy with the last name Worley who was involved in a breaking and entering of a home and was shot.
The guy driving the car had the same last name as our other decedent, and we thought, what are the chances that these two have the same last name?
This can't be a coincidence.
We thought that it was a possibility that he was fleeing the scene of the crime from the home invasion and wrecked his car while fleeing at a high rate of speed.
Let's make sure we bag all the evidence, okay?
We knew multiple suspects had committed a home invasion, but only one was shot and killed. So we went to investigate whether or not Mr. David Worley was somehow mixed up with the home invasion that we were actively investigating.
Detective, would you go to the hospital and see if there's any gunshot wounds? Okay.
David Worley is at the morgue. So we send Detective Abate over to examine David Worley to find out if he had sustained any type of gunshot wound.
Meanwhile, the North Carolina Highway Patrol continues to treat the accident as just that, an accident.
Highway Patrol conducts their own investigation as far as vehicle wreck, speed, and things of that nature, as well as taking photographs and documenting the travel of the vehicle and where it collided or had any impact.
But as they survey the scene, they immediately discover some inconsistencies.
There was a shirt located inside the vehicle that did not appear to have been ripped off of anybody in a car wreck, but it did have blood stains consistent with being worn during a car wreck.
It's highly unlikely that he was ejected from the car, stripped only from his shirt, and landed beside the car on the road and left the shirt by itself.
When they take a closer look at the shirt, they find another curious detail.
It had some red stains on it that we believe to be blood, and embedded in one of those stains was a gold chip paint flake.
Did the shirt with the blood stains and gold paint have something to do with the accident, or was it just a coincidence? Another thing that's unclear to investigators is what caused the accident in the first place.
No tire tracks.
There was no signs of evading, braking, or any type of evasive maneuvers at all.
Is it possible that David had been shot during the robbery, sped away from the crime scene, lost consciousness and crashed? That scenario might explain the bloodstained shirt found in his car.
At that point in the investigation, there was really no other explanation.
By the time Detective Abate gets to the morgue, the medical examiner has already inspected David's body and determined what she believes is the cause of death.
This is Mr. Worley. He's already been examined.
A medical examiner examined his body in the hospital and concluded that he had died from wounds suffered in the car crash.
Can I help? Yes. Do you have a minute? I need to speak to you.
Yes, I do.
With no concrete evidence of foul play, the only thing left to do now is to notify David Worley's loved ones of his passing.
Mr. Worley's mother, Ella Grant, got a knock on her door, and there were 3 state troopers, and they'd come to bring bad news that her son had died in a car crash.
I'm sorry. Your son's passed away in a car accident.
She was screaming to the top of her lungs. She was an emotional wreck. She lost it. She lost it.
David's mother is clearly distraught, but police haven't been able to locate his wife, Toni, to tell her the horrible news. Then they get a call from the hospital informing them that Toni's there.
Toni had passed the scene en route to meet me. That's when she saw the accident. So we found out where the nearest hospital was, and so we went to that hospital.
Hi, ladies.
The hospital chaplain talked to me and my mom in the room about the accident and that David was found dead at the scene of the accident. And that's when I kind of just lost it, I guess.
As David's loved ones try to come to grips with his untimely death, detectives close the case and release his body for burial.
After the body leaves the morgue at the hospital, it then goes to Unity Funeral Home.
What detectives don't realize is that this case is far from over, and a shocking phone call 24 hours later will shroud the death of David Worley in a dark cloud of mystery, innuendo, and quite possibly murder.
The funeral workers discovered mysterious wounds in his back.
First time I had met David, I was living in a mobile home park called Fairland Acres. And I had a neighbor that told me that this young man wanted to meet me. And so one day I was outside and he said, "Hey, come here." I said, "Have you ever been swooped up by a pimp?" and I just like, no, I haven't. And we would sit and talk out in the car or on the steps for hours. He's a pretty smooth talker.
On July 21st, 2013, a Harnett County, North Carolina morgue releases the badly mangled body of David Worley to his family.
He had multiple lacerations and almost amputations from the car wreck, so it was pretty obvious that he died from his injuries.
Police originally suspected David might have been involved in a home invasion robbery where one of the assailants was shot and killed and had the last name Worley.
Worley. The other decedent from the home invasion, he had a last name Worley as well. His name was LaRon Worley, and he was also transported to the morgue.
They was home invaders. One got shot and killed, and the other one got away. And I guess they thought David was the one that got away.
But the medical examiner's inspection of David's body revealed no gunshot wounds or other evidence that would have linked him to the crime. And a background check proves that the fact David and the shooting victim share the same last name is mere coincidence.
Through investigation, it was determined that the two Worleys were not related to one another.
Mr. Worley was not involved or kin to the other suspect that was killed during our other investigation.
The crash was ruled an accident because that's what it appeared to be. David lost control of the car, crashed, and died.
Then on July 22nd, 3 days after David's fatal accident, the Harnett County Sheriff's Department gets a call from a local funeral home.
Detective Armstrong?
We were contacted by the Unity Funeral Home, and they stated that the wounds in Mr. Worley's back was deeper than a laceration.
What do you think might have caused that?
In a bizarre twist, the funeral worker who discovered the wounds is David's best friend, Ricky Bush.
According to Ricky, as he was in the process of injecting embalming fluid into David's corpse, he and the funeral director, Vernon Peterson, noticed something strange.
The fluid started coming out onto the table, and we started seeing the fluid leak, the fluid leak, the fluid leaks.
Mr. Peterson is still not holding.
Okay, we'll lift him up.
Peterson asked Ricky to lift David's body up to see what was causing the leak.
Okay, just lay him back down.
I laid him down. I was like, "What's wrong?"
Come on, let's get out.
He locked the door and took everybody's keys from us, and then we contacted the Harnett County homicide detective.
According to Ricky Bush, what he and Peterson had seen were several knife wounds on David's back, one as deep as 8 inches.
We immediately contacted the medical examiner's office in Raleigh.
Listening to Ricky Bush, detectives Rodney Jackson and Jeff Armstrong wonder how those cuts weren't discovered during the initial autopsy.
The medical examiner examined the front of his body and saw wounds that seemed to be consistent with a car crash. What she did not do is roll his body over and see the wounds in his back. She was 65 and said she just did not have the strength to turn over Mr. Worley's body. Mr. Worley weighed 218 pounds.
David Worley's body is immediately transferred to the state medical examiner's office in Raleigh for a full autopsy.
During Mr. David Worley's autopsy, the medical examiner did discover what he believed to be multiple stab wounds in Mr. Worley's back.
The autopsy found 4 stab wounds, and one of them was deep enough to puncture Mr. Worley's lung.
The EMS facility and fire station was actually a few hundred yards from where he wrecked. Mr. Worley was definitely going to seek some type of medical aid.
At that point, the law enforcement authorities knew that they had a likely homicide on their hands.
The case then immediately went from a motor vehicle fatality to a murder.
Armstrong and Jackson begin their homicide investigation by looking into the one person closest to David, his wife, Toni, to see if she has any sort of violent history. After all, the couple was known to have had a rocky relationship.
They were continuously arguing or bickering or fighting.
Toni's record comes up clean, but detectives still need to see if she might know anything in regards to the stab wounds found on David's body.
I went out there to Tony's house and introduced myself and told her that I wanted to interview her about her husband's death.
We're with the Harnett County Police Department.
We knew that he had been stabbed, but we didn't want to put her on any type of an alarm.
We'd like to invite you down to the station and ask you a few questions.
Tony and her mother agreed to come down to the sheriff's office for an interview.
They were very cooperative and seemed to be very good people.
We interviewed her in what they call a non-custodial interview, which means she wasn't in custody. She was free to leave at any time.
I appreciate you coming down here. This is so we can try to get a timeline as to what happened that day. Is there anything around that time that make him a little on edge?
Give us information that her and David, the night that he wrecked his car, they had an argument.
He was mad about my cell phone at the time, and he was going through my cell phone, and he saw a 678 number in there, and he thought that I was cheating on him, but the number was the number to Georgia Department of Labor.
While he was mad and arguing, did he hit you? No, they didn't put their hands on him, on you? Did you put your hands on him in any way? No, it's just a verbal argument?
Denied any type of physical contact or confrontation between one another.
She was asked several times if David had put his hands on her in any way or if she had stabbed him, and she denied those adamantly.
But just as the interview was wrapping up, Detective Jackson notices Tony's fingernails.
I noticed while Detective Armstrong was interviewing her that Tony Talley had gold flake fingernail polish.
This was particularly important because prior to seeing this, we got evidence out of David Worley's car. This shirt, it had some red stains on it that we believe to be blood, and embedded in one of those stains was a gold chip paint flake.
Detectives attempt to coax Tony into giving them consent to photograph her hands.
So you don't have any injuries on your hands or anything?
No, I don't.
We're going to document that there's no injuries on your hands and stuff.
Yeah, just takes a picture of your hands and begin.
At that moment was the game changer on her demeanor. She shifted from being cool, calm, relaxed to physically, visibly upset, anxious, nervous.
I feel like there's something's not right. Okay. I feel like, I just lost him.
Right.
Why am I sitting in here?
Right.
All we want to do is document that there's no injuries on her hands. By taking a photograph, it's an actual photo record that there's nothing, no injuries to her hands consistent with any type of physical altercation.
Tony eventually agrees to let the detectives take the photos.
That was a tough process. You got people that you don't know, random people.
But Armstrong and Jackson are convinced Tony knows more about her husband's death than she is letting on. The only problem is, are they too late to prove it?
It's crucial for homicide detectives to start on their investigations immediately because leads grow cold, it becomes harder to find witnesses, evidence gets contaminated.
Harnett County, North Carolina. 3 days after David Worley was killed in a gruesome car crash, police have received information that suggests his death was no accident.
It wasn't until David Worley went to the funeral home that we ever knew that he had been stabbed. We were still under the idea that he had just been in a car accident and nothing more.
The authorities believe the stab wounds were caused by an 8-inch butcher knife. One of them was deep enough to puncture his lung.
The medical examiner found that he had a collapsed lung, which would have made him unable to operate this motor vehicle.
Detectives have just interviewed David's widow, Tony, who admitted to arguing with David shortly before his accident, but Tony adamantly denies she stabbed him.
Did you stab him the night he got in the wreck?
No, I did not stab him. We didn't touch each other. We yelled and fussed, and he hopped in that car and left.
She denied 9 times during our interview that her or David had ever put their hands on each other during the argument.
However, Tony does inform detectives that David's 9-year-old son, David Jr., spent the night with them on the evening in question. and could corroborate her statement.
So it was essential that we contacted the family and get an interview with little David.
Police locate little David at the home of his grandmother, Ella Grant, and she consents to let him speak to police.
Little David came to the Harnett County Sheriff's Office, and we conducted an interview here.
We just have a few questions.
Little David tells detectives it all started at approximately 5:30 a.m.
I heard them arguing, so I woke up early.
The argument started over him going through her phone while she was asleep and him not recognizing phone numbers that she had called and questioning her about that and ultimately breaking and smashing her phone because of it.
I heard the door slam, I ain't hear nothing else. Then I looked out the blinds and my dad had jumped in his car. That's all I seen, and he drove off.
He just ran and jumped in the car and left.
Did you see your father hit Tony or Tony hit your father?
No, sir.
So far, little David's statement seems to corroborate Tony's version of events. But when little David explains what happened next, it casts a shadow of doubt over her story.
She had came in there and said, "Get up, son. Go put on your shoes." And then that's when she was sticking something in her purse, but I couldn't see it.
Could that something have been a knife?
You didn't see what it was?
No, sir.
At that point, they left and hitchhiked a few miles to Tony's friend Renata's house.
Little David tells police that when they arrived at Renata's, they got in her car and headed toward his aunt's home, where Tony planned to drop him off, a route that took them directly past the site of David's accident.
And I seen my dad's car flipped over. And I started crying, and I like, "That's my dad." And she was like, "It's not your dad, you gonna be all right."
Little David told us that he immediately recognized that was his daddy's car, and they began to tell him to shut up. He knew it was his daddy's car.
According to David Jr., a few minutes later, they arrived at his aunt's house.
They let little David out, and as little David was knocking on the door, they drove off.
The detectives knew that they had to speak to Renata.
I was sent to Renata's residence on Eisler Drive to meet with Renata.
Miss Renata, can you tell me what happened the morning of the accident?
Renata tells the detective that Tony was very upset when she arrived that morning.
Renata said that Tony Talley looked very worried, and she asked her what happened. And that's when Tony gave the story of what had just transpired to Renata.
What was she upset about?
It was David.
Tony told Renata that her and David had been fighting and that David was beating on her and wouldn't stop.
Like beating on her really bad.
Renata's statement seems to be at odds with the one Tony shared with detectives just a few hours earlier.
Tony had told the detectives that the argument did not get physical.
She denied David ever assaulting her in any way.
What Renata says next further undermines what Tony originally told investigators.
And so she had to defend herself. So she stabbed him.
She told you she stabbed David?
Yes, but it was self-defense. She stabbed him in self-defense.
Renata said Tony was scared, and she did it to stop him. And she was scared he was going to truly hurt her.
She reached over, grabbed a knife, and stabbed him in his back. Renata said that Tony gathered the knives out of her kitchen, placed them in her purse, and gave Renata the knives, which were put into a plastic grocery bag and placed into a drawer beside their refrigerator. The knives were retrieved and secured into my patrol car.
Could one of those knives be a murder weapon?
These were her school knives, culinary art knives, which were very sharp.
I thought we had the murder weapon.
The disputed findings of David Worley's autopsy helped pave the way for increased funding in North Carolina to reduce medical examiner oversight. In 2015, state officials voted to raise medical examiner funding by nearly $2 million per year, thereby providing examiners with additional training and higher pay rates. In July of 2013, law enforcement in Harnett County, North Carolina is investigating the mysterious death of David Worley, Police now believe he may have been murdered by his wife, Toni.
We find out from the funeral home that this is a homicide and not a fatal car wreck.
When questioned by police, Toni denies stabbing her husband, but Toni's friend Renata has told them a different story.
Renata said, oh yeah, here, she brought these knives here.
It's like essentially the smoking gun. You know, when you find somebody like Renata that comes out and says, hey, Toni Talley, come over here with a bag full of knives, and she admits that she stabbed David.
On July 24th, 5 days after her husband's death, police returned to the residence Toni shared with him to confront her with Renata's story and to gather possible evidence of the alleged murder.
I actually drafted a search warrant to obtain scrapings of her fingernail polish for evidence.
The gold flakes on her fingernails are the same color and consistency as that of the gold flake on the shirt out of the wrecked car.
We have a search warrant.
As I read her the search warrant, she actually became physically ill and an anxiety attack and breathing heavy.
I'm sorry, I keep breathing.
Toni, sit down. The search warrant is to get a fingernail polish sample.
Let the officer get a sample.
Once Toni calms down, they finish getting the polish samples and place her under arrest.
She was charged with first-degree murder.
Toni, if you would, stand up and put your hands behind your back.
But I didn't do anything.
And then she invoked her right to counsel, which makes it off limits. We can't talk to her again.
24 hours after Toni's arrest, a service is held for David Worley at Unity Funeral Home, the same funeral home where David's longtime friend, Ricky Bush, first discovered the knife wounds.
It was a packed house. I think our chapel seats 276, and we had people in there standing.
It was very sad, and he was loved by so many people.
I knew he was going to heaven, straight to heaven, but I didn't want to believe that he was dead. I just started crying.
Toni Talley, of course, is unable to attend. The following day, she makes bail, but opts not to visit the funeral home.
I thought about going to see him one-on-one, but because of his family, I don't think that I would have found any type of peace or closure going to that funeral. I just didn't get any at all. I didn't. The last time I saw him is when he left the house and we had that argument.
Monday, September 21st, 2015, the murder trial of Toni Talley begins at the Harnett County Superior Court in Lillington, North Carolina.
She was terrified. I don't think anybody charged with murder feels confident walking in a courtroom. If you're convicted, you go to prison the rest of your life.
The state's case is presented by Assistant DA Donald Harrop.
As the proceeding began, he stated that he would show that Toni Talley was a woman that premeditated and maliciously stabbed her husband.
All through the case, when the DA was presenting their evidence and everything, I thought everything was going well.
They had over 66 documents that showed in several different manners and several different ways that she was clearly guilty of stabbing her husband multiple times. Even the statement from the pathologist that the question was posed to him, let's say there was not a car accident, would Mr. Worley have survived? And the doctor clearly said no, he would have still died.
There's also the matter of the heated argument between David and Toni years earlier, in which she allegedly stabbed him in the arm.
She took a knife, cut him across his arm, where it needed stitches.
However, due to the fact that a police report was never filed, the state is unable to use this piece of circumstantial evidence during trial. But David's family remains convinced it foreshadowed his murder.
She stabbed him once. She could have did it again.
We have the knife wounds, the gold paint flakes, the blood evidence, the statements of the medical examiner, Toni's friend Renata, and David's son. It really looked like Toni was guilty.
But on cross-examination, the defense presses the medical examiner on whether the stab wounds caused the wreck.
Dr. Nichols was very clear that the car wreck killed David Worley, and unless medically you could tie the stab wounds to causing the car wreck, then our client didn't cause his death. the car wreck caused his death. Our last questions to Dr. Nichols were, did the stabbing cause the car wreck? And he could not say.
In their closing arguments, prosecutors insist that the evidence proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that Toni Talley had gone into the kitchen during an argument with her husband and returned with the intent to kill him.
Yo, what the hell is this?
What the hell is what?
Why you got 3 phone numbers in your phone I don't recognize?
What are you doing on my phone? Give me my phone.
Let's talk about it. You're not getting your damn phone. You know what? You ain't never getting it back then. How about that?
She went in this side, got her 8-inch butcher blade from school, and went outside and stabbed him in the back 4 times.
It's now up to Toni's defense to disprove what seems to be irrefutable evidence against her. But to everyone's surprise, they ask the judge to dismiss the case entirely.
This is a huge play, one that seemed outrageous at first. But surprisingly, the judge did not immediately deny the request.
The judge said that he needed to think about this over the weekend.
On Friday, September 25th, 2015, the state of North Carolina rests its case against Toni Talley, accused of stabbing her husband in the back and causing the accident that took his life.
I think we presented the best case that we could possibly present.
At this point, the evidence seems to suggest that Toni is guilty.
But instead of putting on a defense, Toni's attorneys petitioned the court to dismiss the case.
Their grounds was that the state did not show evidence that the stab wounds caused Mr. Worley to wreck.
The cause of death was the car wreck, and there was no medical connection between the stab wounds and the car wreck.
I was stunned. I was there every day, and I thought that they had quite a bit of evidence to prove, that she was involved in that.
The judge tells the courtroom he will review the testimony over the weekend and announce his decision Monday morning.
The judge heard that motion, took a stay on the motion to ponder on it over the weekend.
Monday, September 28th, 2015. The court is packed. The judge gavels the court into session and immediately delivers his decision.
The judge said, I've made some decisions. Some of you are gonna like what I'm gonna say, and some of you are not.
The DA turned around and said to the family, whenever they read the verdict, don't say a word, don't show any emotion.
Of course we were nervous. Yes, we were scared. I mean, that's only a natural reaction.
He said that there's been a lot of evidence presented in this case. At this time, I am dismissing this case for lack of evidence. He said there would be no charges brought up against Miss Toni Talley.
They dismissed the charge of first-degree murder. She was free to leave.
I just remember saying to myself, it's finally over, and God is big. When He's big in me.
It was a cry for joy for her. I was just so happy for her.
Not surprisingly, David Worley's friends and family have an entirely different reaction.
I couldn't really... I don't know how to explain it. I was just wondering how could it be dismissed when they know she stabbed him.
Justice was not served. And they say all the time, believe in your justice system, your court system. But in this situation, you have a woman that's taken a life and she's walking the streets.
When the judge told Toni that she was free to go, she acted as if she was sobbing in the tissue, and it was just as fake to me as 2 left feet. I had no sympathy for her whatsoever. Because at the end of the day, you know what you've done.
Whether Toni stabbed David in self-defense or with the intent to murder him, the two sides will likely never agree.
Damn.
kept hitting me and kept hitting me. And then before I knew it, I was on the ground. And when I went on the ground, he was standing over me, still hit me. That's when I reached for the knife, and I just came up swinging, and that was it.
You had an abusive relationship. You have a woman being beaten down with no mercy, who thought that her life was going to be taken, and she didn't want it to happen. So to defend herself, so that she could keep living, she did what she had to do.
She stabbed him 4 times in the back. So I just can't see how that's self-defense.
If I could say anything to Tony,